in the presidential system, and especially with the rolling change that is applied. And they need to have some consistency in the wording and not to have that very strange tone that we are observing in the media and some of the last, let's say, few weeks, especially after the presidential elections. So they are very reluctant and will not accept such deviation from confidence level that they are asking for. So better to present that confidence, not to show up that who is in power and so on. So we have to understand rather he is going for visit for a power show up or to present confidence to other nations. And I think he's going for that confidence.
Yes. Now, Doctor, as well, there have been a lot of contradicting reports on whether or not Egypt had received the Saudi donation, and Ambassador Qattan in Cairo reassured several times that the issue of the donation was done and submitted way far beyond the new president coming into office. How far is that true? Because there have also been other talks saying that that's one of the issues on the agenda of President Morsi, is to ask the kingdom to hand in the donations that they promised.
No, it's not a donation. It is a credit facility, not a donation. To allow us to buy commodities and so on in the future. The point is it is segmented, and the Saudi government already followed up their agenda of when and how to deliver. But of course, nobody, regardless of the relationship, will accept providing some credit facility where the economy is cracking down, where the stock market is going below and so on. So of course, any, let's say, any mindset will accept only to deal with a stable structure at least. So maybe he is going to show up that stability a little bit and the agenda of the stability, let's say, because it cannot happen in one day or two, in which the Saudis will roll up the wheels again.
Dr. Yasser, do you believe that since this is the first official foreign visit for President Morsi as a president outside Egypt, it could be a sort of a scale or a thermometer, if I may say, a test to how far or how good the president could be diplomatically speaking with other countries, particularly because the previous regime for very long years has had a certain strategy that has been implemented in terms of public diplomacy or foreign diplomacy. So how do you think President Morsi and his team is going to be handling that issue of diplomacy with other countries?
No, remember, we have to remember the weight of the kingdom. Remember, we are having more than 1.5 million Egyptians living there with their families, and you cannot discard that as a value. On the other side, they have to provide confidence for the Saudi government, because Saudis by nature, they don't like the Muslim Brotherhood and so on, so he must show some confidence with them. The third issue is, remember that the Saudi investment one is the largest up with the British investment back in Egypt concerning investment and so on. So he just like to show up that somebody can start over in Egypt, and he preferred to start with the Saudi Arabia because of the values, the neighborhood in the region and so on. So I hope he is going that way. But the other concern that we might have, that not to abuse this visit to open discussion to have a visit to other countries like Iran and so on, which might cause some conflict. So the agenda of the visit should be cleared, and the most important issue that the presidential office should show up is transparency, which we cannot see until now in lots of things. So I think transparency is becoming something core that should be presented to everybody.
Yes, final question, Dr. Yasser. When Ambassador Qattan was in meeting the president in Cairo last week, there have been questions by reporters asking him on whether they have discussed or tackled the issue of prisoners, Egyptian prisoners in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, particularly Ghazawi, the latest case that was very popular and had gained attention throughout the media. And Ambassador Qattan had no comments on that particular issue. Do you think that President Morsi is going to be tackling this issue with the custodian of the two holy mosques? And what could possibly be the outcome of such talks?
Technically, we have to be very clear. He cannot open that issue there. He can't, because this is in the hand of the court system, the legal system, and the embassy is following up. So all he has to do is to see what's the barriers or what's the issues that impact the Egyptian region, because he's having already problems with 1.5 million there. So he better take care of that, not to go for something under debate of criminal records and so on. Because if something goes wrong, that means the presidential office itself is the wrong one. So we have to be very precautious up to that, not to get engaged in anything related to such issues unless we have a full confidence that something is wrong that's happening.
Very well, Dr. Yasser Tontai, political analyst, thank you very much for joining us here on The Breakfast Show and for shedding light on President Morsi's first official foreign visit outside the kingdom, outside Egypt, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And now to know more about the World Population Day, let's see what this story is about with Yasmin Ibrahim.
Universal access to reproductive health services. This is the theme of this year's World Population Day, which is celebrated annually on the 11th of July. And to mark this event, UNFPA office in Egypt hosted a press conference to discuss the issue of reducing maternal mortality in Upper Egypt. A documentary was also screened showing a training program that is a joint effort of both the Egyptian Ministry of Health and Population and the UNFPA to enhance maternal health and reduce maternal mortality.
Actually, we have about 5,000 health facilities, primary health care facilities all over the country, and all what are trained right now is only 2,500 right now. This is covering about 50% of all health facilities, but we need to make this coverage 100%. And this is as a first step. The second step, not to make one trained midwife for each health facility, but for every village.
The documentary shows the success story of Ibtisam Al-Khouli, who now works as a nurse midwife in Al-Minya Governorate in Egypt. Ibtisam serves poor women who live in areas where they do not have access to health services, or in cultures where women prefer to have home deliveries. Ibtisam also takes care of women who already gave birth, and she's very satisfied with her job because she saves the life of Egyptian women.
This program actually replaced the traditional daya who were not well trained, and a lot of complications delivery occurred at that time, by more trained, well qualified and officially certified birth attendant, which is qualified nurse midwife. And by some awareness and the role of the media, we need you at this point to help women in Upper Egypt understand that it's the certified nurse that can provide her with safe delivery, not the traditional birth attendant. But now we found that in Upper Egypt, women became aware about this, and this trained nurse midwife started to practice their job.
Enhancing maternal health and reducing maternal mortality is not an easy task. Strenuous and collective efforts of different sectors should be exerted to fight such a critical problem. Reporting for Nile International, I'm Yasmin Ibrahim.
Welcome back. Right now we have a telephone call from Dr. Pasant Fahmi, who's an economic expert. Hello, doctor.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, doctor. My first question would be about how would President Morsi's visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia enhance bilateral relations in terms of economy between Egypt and Saudi Arabia?
Well, I think this is a very important visit. We need to understand that Egypt has been away from most of the countries in the world except from requesting aid. So I think starting a new era where the President of the Republic would go and visit some major countries, whether in the region or international, this, first of all, it would explain how Egypt would be run in the coming period on a more closer manner. It will clarify to them how can we cooperate together for the good of the two countries, not only for the good of Egypt. So I think it's a very important visit, and it could be started by Saudi Arabia because it's the largest country in the region, and we need to enhance our cooperation with the kingdom. So I think it's a very positive figure. And again, he had meetings with the businessmen and investors, Egyptian expatriates living in Saudi Arabia and Saudi investors, to explain, I think, the Renaissance plan he has and how they can cooperate in achieving that very optimistic plan.
So how do you see the Egyptian economy after the election of President Morsi now?
It's going through definitely it's a tough period, but it is going through a very positive path. We are heading towards a proper way of managing our economy. I'm very optimistic about the Renaissance plan, and because it tackles all aspects of the economy. And for the first time, we will talk about development rather than growth. Because in the last decade, we've been talking always about growth in GDP, but we never witnessed development. If you go through the Renaissance plan, you find that it is working on all aspects of developing Egypt, whether agriculture, an industry based on agriculture, on industry, on developing the microfinance, on developing the social, the new cities, the problems of the slums. It addresses all, even the financial sector, the banking system. So I think it's a very comprehensive plan, but as I said, it needs a lot of effort by all Egyptians living overseas and in Egypt, and it needs a lot of effort by always our friends, by our friends in the other countries like Saudi Arabia, the United States, Europe, all those countries. We need their help in achieving that optimistic plan. So it is not only by developing our own industries inside, we need the help of our friends in the world to cooperate with us in achieving our plan.
Dr. Bassam Fahmy, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
And that, of course, brings us to the end of our breakfast episode this morning. Thank you once again very much, Ahmed, for joining.
Thank you, Yasmin.
Have a lovely day.